Welcome back to The Nation and welcome to our political commentator, Colin James. Good morning, Colin.
Kia ora, Rachel.
I think you would have heard the interview then with Russell Norman. Certainly Graham Wheeler, the new Reserve Bank Governor, his speech seems worlds apart, doesn't it, from Russell Norman's stance on monetary policy?
Yes, Graham Wheeler's speech on Friday was very much in the traditional mould, shall we say, of the last 25 years. But I don't think he could have been otherwise because we haven't yet got an agreement around the world in economic theory about what should replace the monetary policies of the last 25 years or so. And he's quite right to distinguish New Zealand from the large economies that have been using quantitative easing, which means printing money, and very doubtful about whether that would affect the price of the dollar. They do, however, agree on one thing, that the balance of payments deficit and the external debt is too high and leaves us very vulnerable, and we need to do something about that, and they do agree that we need to move more resources and more activity into the tradable sector. They disagree on how to get there.
We also discussed, of course, how the Greens sat on their position of whether they would form a coalition potentially in 2014 with Labour. How does Russell Norman's position on the economy, do you think, feed into that relationship with Labour?
Well, it's quite an interesting one because they agree on quite a lot, but they do disagree on the degree to which New Zealand can divorce itself from the global economy. We're a highly globalised economy now, much more than even 10 years ago, and the Greens still very doubtful about free trade. And that's a dividing line, I think, between Labour and the Greens. Labour has accepted that. Helen Clark signed free trade agreements, which was not what she would have been comfortable with 10 years earlier. The Greens still not comfortable with that. So that's a dividing line between the Greens and Labour. It's where the Greens meet New Zealand First, because New Zealand First is an economic nationalist party, so the two can form common cause on their approach to that way of the thinking about the economy.
Russell Norman said, that he can work with New Zealand First, but it's all about policy, not about personality. Does his position on New Zealand First surprise you at all?
No, they've been having the odd conversation, he and Winston Peters, as I understand it, and they've been finding some common ground. And Winston Peters has mellowed quite a bit and is also very uncomfortable with the idea that he might finish up with National. It's been very interesting that what I'm hearing is that the National Party MPs have slackened off their slagging off of New Zealand First. They're doing it rather less. Now, why is that? Because National recognises it may well need Winston Peters post-2014 if it's to form a government. So it's a really interesting dynamic there. And then why might that be the case? Because the Māori Party is having its annual hui today, and I'm obviously here and not there, and it's sounding more and more like an opposition party rather than a support party.
Interesting you say Winston Peters is mellowing. Should we add "for now" to that sentence, do you think, Colin?
With Winston Peters, I think you add "for now" to all sentences. But for the moment, if I had to guess, and there was a contest for which way he would go, the election was tomorrow, and he was holding the balance of power, I think he would go with Labour.
All right, Colin James, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.